Tēnā koutou, koutou, katoa. Welcome tonight to our annual event where we have the good fortune of Rinpoche coming from Australia to visit us in New Zealand, and he is here for the 3-day Karma Abiding retreat we have been held at the centre. So Rinpoche is our spiritual director, teacher, mentor, guider. There's so many things just all rolled into a wonderful Buddhist bundle that we have the absolute pleasure of having Rinpoche here. Rinpoche was born in Tibet, and like many Tibetans, his family made their way over to Nepal, where I think the education started, and Rinpoche was a student of His Eminence Choedak, who is one of the 21st century's gems in terms of all of the Buddhist knowledge that has come with the high Tibetan Lamas that made their way over. So Rinpoche has had such a foundation of knowledge, teachings. Rinpoche has also been translator for so many of the wonderful teachers that the West has had the opportunity to learn from here, and through his centres in Australia. He's got numerous centres in Australia. Every week he globally does presentations that have got several hundred participants are engaged each week with the wonderful joy of Zoom, and tonight is our first public talk by Zoom, so thank you, Matthew. So I guess I can't reiterate enough just what an honour, how fortunate we are to have Rinpoche in our presence, and his knowledge of Buddhism, his knowledge of the Western reality that we live in, and combining those two with his eloquent understanding of both sides. But you're here to hear Rinpoche talk, not me. So welcome everybody, and enjoy, and I will hand over to Rinpoche, who will introduce himself as well. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Lily. Good evening, every one of you that are here in person, and others there in person, and all others in between in person. Have I missed anyone? Maybe as bosoms as well, not just persons. There are some bosoms are here in your roofs. I'm sure the bosoms are looking after themselves. Try to. Take a couple of moments to settle yourself in. I'm sure you have had a busy day, and then on top of that, coming here and making time to be here with everyone, and most importantly, with yourselves. How often are we truly present at our own disposal? So that's the main question. I'm going to start off with short chanting in praise of the Buddha, because according to the Tibetan Buddhist calendar, the most holiest month started yesterday. So take a couple moments for yourself to tune up your basic goodness, and not to be distracted by things that are not so good in the long run, but temporarily very appealing or attracting. what really makes us to look after ourselves and those around us is when we are able to tune in the good that already are within ourselves. If we don't see that, we won't see anywhere else. So Buddha did that. He didn't see that good happening in him as a prince. He had to discard that life to seek what good can be unearthed that are buried under his status, his prestige and honor that people think is wealth, status, power, company. He realized these aren't looking after himself, or let alone anyone else. So reflect a couple of moments during my chanting, so that it lays a good foundation for this talk to make sense. Anyone here who's below 29? Oh? But it seems 99% is above 29. And I don't know how many those on Zoom, and in between persons are in that age category. I just mentioned earlier that Buddha, as a young Prince Siddhartha, when he reached his age 29, he was already a king. He had the world in his hand. He was most powerful position. He was wealthy. He was strong. He was powerful. He was loved, respected. He had everyone at his fingertips. It's almost like the main aim, its objective, that everyone who is studying and working and having a profession would like to aim to reach that status, don't we? We would like to believe that if we did very well around that age or a bit after, some takes a little longer than before you reach 29 to have a very stable career. Some may have quite well established life even before that. How many become easily satisfied that they have done well or looked after themselves well to have a place in the world in which they feel welcomed and given equal opportunity to perform and do and help and grow. But how many are disgruntled and dissatisfied even if they reach the height of their career and success, but still dissatisfied and wanting, looking for their missing answer for their life's biggest question. And this was exactly the problem that Prince Siddhartha faced. When he found his life where he was, he thought he could fix the world and at least the happiness and peace and well-being of his subjects and people under his kingdom's kind of care. It didn't really occur to him at the early stage that he should answer all the problems of the world, or at least of the people that he thought was under his care or ability to help, whatnot. But when he saw the aging, the dying, and the sick, even as a king, he was completely helpless. He couldn't do nothing to the aging, from getting older or sick, getting well, or dying to revive. And that hit him. That hit him so bad that he had no taste for life as a king, let alone anything else. He wasn't sure what else is there can be done to fix these perennial sufferings of aging that everybody experiences physiologically, emotionally, intellectually, no matter how much they think they're looking after. Even they have a fat super. The aging couldn't be slowed. The sickness couldn't be stopped. The death, it couldn't be stopped. Either of those. With money, they thought they were looking after. Their bank balance looks good. They have a nice house and probably another investment property, a boat, a yacht, who knows what. People got all those things thinking they're really looking after themselves very well. How many have reached to that level? Oh gosh, I should be able to do something about the suffering. Such as those, on top of that, there are many additional suffering, people without being aged or suffering from sickness in their youth. They have a lot of sufferings of you name it, competitiveness, and try to reach a place, a position that you think is success, but all uphill battle from the day one. And even you reach there, it isn't quite you thought it is. it is wrought with sufferings and problems we never expected. So how can we really look after ourselves if these kind of sufferings are against us? These are inevitable. You can't outsmart life. To avoid sickness, death, aging, parting from the loved ones, not getting what you want, you can't do nothing. These are inevitably universal sufferings, yet human beings has always been denying every one of these as they are not part of life. No wonder there are so many people depressed, because they are all denying all this reality of life. They don't want to embrace them. They don't want to accept them. They're thinking, why me? Why my loved one has to die now? And so on, so many endless questions, as if this has never happened to anyone before, never will happen to anyone, but only happening to me. So in many ways we have been foolishly looking after ourselves too ignorantly. We think that we alone have been struck with all these difficulties. So the best way to look after our well-being, if that could be, but our well-being doesn't mean with our aging and sickness and death. You could die quite well when you die well. When you accept death, it's never too late to look after yourself. You die well, you looked after yourself well. But very few people want to die at all. They want to deny, reject, and bargain, if you can, flee from death. Top of mountains, deep down oceans, in between rocks, you will go anywhere, try to avoid death, won't you? The Americans thought they can go to the moon, so did the Russians. They would do anything if they can go at a place or time where death couldn't meet with them. So I like to look at this topic of how to take care of ourselves and others from the angle of what's truth. We accept the truth of what life is. You don't have to look after yourself. They'll look after you. Because death will look after you to die on time. Aging will look after you to age before you are aging. Sickness will come at least expected time and place. They are always ahead of time. We are a little behind because we are busy looking after ourselves. We don't want to accept the reality of life. What is self to look after if this kind of reality of life are ignored? So, if we really want to look after ourselves, is to accept all this reality of life. And then don't feel as you are defeated by aging and sickness and death. Because if you really mean looking after yourself, it's physically, we can call it looking after, well, what does it constitute an everyday conventional person looking after yourself physically? Okay. You want to look after yourself so well, you'll buy life insurance. Even though that doesn't insure your death, sickness, and aging, you still will pay a couple of $100 every month, no problem. We're doing that all the time. Who hasn't got life insurance? So, see minority. See, most of this. So you're like me. You're like me. I have no life insurance because I don't believe in one. Because life is already insured by the Lord of Death. Then you'll be dead. You don't need to be sick. You don't have to be poor. You don't be old. You just have to be born. Full stop. But we want to deny death. No, death can't touch me. Even if it does, I will get money. I don't know, who will get money when you're dead? Oh, I never thought about that. I thought I can look after yourself with money. You thought money will look after itself, even though the body is dead. So we become so materialistic, as if money will look after you. In the meantime, the process of making the money is where you suffer. When you suffer, have all these competitions, setbacks, and assessing yourself whether your income is 6-digit or more or not. If not, you're doing very well, and even you have more than enough, you never think that you're really doing well. And then we put ourselves as not quite successful. So when we prioritize our self-assessment of oneself monetarily, only looking after self financially, maybe, and even physical body stresses, it ages faster than your time is due, because we are enslaved in search of these so-called material possessions. There are far more people in the first world that are earning more than 6 digits, but they look very old. They're getting old quicker. If they're looking after themselves very well, they should be smart enough not to, isn't it? But no wonder the young Prince Siddhartha, it came on to him, this is not the way to live. He wanted to give up everything instead of save, protect more. What he thought his importance is to do with the amount of wealth that he has. He saw them as a hindrance to real self-development and of its use to the others. So he sacrificed all of that. We call renounced all of that in exchange of knowledge. He went for enlightenment in order to look after him and everyone else. He didn't exclude anyone. It wasn't just looking after himself and few others in times of uncertainty. We think these days we live in uncertainty. But even during his time, there was no certainty. So no wonder what kind of vision that he had to give up all the things that people like us would go after and spend our rest of life to get. But he, at that time, hit the roof. No, I'm not doing this. But instead he wanted to discard all of this in search of knowledge and wisdom and enlightenment. There's lots of people searching knowledge. You wouldn't believe how many people got degrees and double degrees, triple degrees, the triple stress. PhD mostly kills people. They're almost near dead. By the time they finish PhD, they're near dead. I'm not saying this literally, but spiritually and in humility-wise, it does exact opposite. It tries to bloat your ego as big as possible, and that almost is exactly what Prince Siddhartha feared most. Wealth, status, position, power, strength, everything make the person feel he's the highest or most important one, yet he had no happiness and peace. So therefore his search began, but he gave up all of that. Whether that's the kind of example everyone can or cannot emulate is everyone's choice, but definitely there's something in there, because he is alone thus far to achieve the perfect enlightenment. Others who followed him have reached many small levels of enlightenment. So when we're talking about looking after ourselves physically, emotionally, financially, educationally, you can do various things, all of these things. But we wanted to look at aspect of the opposite of looking after ourselves, which means we're neglecting our well-being physically. It's really important to look after if we have been neglecting ourselves physically, in terms of what are the habits we have that are unhealthy. Eating, drinking plays a very crucial role there. Most people aren't able to tell what's unhealthy to eat, what's unhealthy to drink, what's unhealthy proportion to drink and eat. They do the exact opposite. And hence many people's physical neglect of their health is all to do with their bad eating and drinking habits. So, so physically there are some maybe doing exact opposite. Maybe they're well educated, they knows about their bodies and nutrition and so on. They are not after taste, but they're after a real vital energy that you need for the body to survive, but not always after taste. But taste and energy are two different things. Tastiest things are not most energy creator of your body. Most energy creator body is probably very bland. But most people are not interested to eat bland food. They call it bland. Are you interested to eat bland food? Are you interested to eat nettle soup? It's considered very good soup for enlightenment. They'll turn you into a greedy in overnight. Without painting any green faces. You become green because you've been drinking all the green soup. The Tibet's most celebrated saint, Milarepa, succeeded doing that by having nettle soups. Apparently it's quite healthy, I'm told. He wasn't into taste. Yeah, if people who start to look after themselves, grow up and then starting to look at their diet and how much of their bodily problems or looming problems in a few years' time are attributed to their eating habits. So those who become really treasure life, to live as long as possible, healthy as possible, though death is inevitable, you just have to accept it. Death, I'll accept it, but I'll stop eating this. Do you mind me living a few years longer? And Dad says, okay, sure. I'll look into it. If you're a good boy, do not eat all the fatty food and sweet food, I'm sure we can look into it. That's called, his name is Yamaraja. That's his job. He's got power to decide who will live how long. He's got a job. It's a full-time job, serving 8 billion people here to make sure who goes on time. Because he doesn't have enough seats. It's all occupied. And there's many many people waiting to be born. And lots of the parents say, no, there's no room. And that's true. People are living longer. I don't know why, doing what. Yes. Just living longer for that we eat some more is not really looking after ourselves or even planet. Probably Earth can afford to have lesser number of people that are abusing her. The way people treat the nature. Because if we look after ourselves and others, who's the other? You don't have to think your sister or mother or husband. No. The other is the environment. It's so remote as a thing that we don't even think it is anything. It's the most important than yourself. The environment. Collective behavior of human population is causing her to suffer. Even Earth as a planet has a particular duration, how long she's supposed to last. But it is told that we are using and abusing the planet so too much to the extent of bringing on her inevitability much faster. Like ozone layer, or depletion of whatever, or global warming, or whatever you may call it. In this time and age, everyone is educated enough to see the other as the environment. Everyone's carefulness in moderating their intake of resources, the energy wastage. Not only they will be looking at physical well-being better, they'll also be conserving the Mother Earth and the elements even more so. So this comes back to the greed. If the greed is not contained as a root cause of suffering, suffering will be produced. So eating too much to the extent of creating obesity, to various eating-related, disorder-related health problems, that is cause of suffering. Greed is cause of suffering. So one is not looking after even this body, let alone environment. If you're of course healthy, you're much more holistically eating and not abusing the material possessions too much for the sake of feeding this body alone. Of course, you look much healthier. You're not subject to many unexpected illnesses because of your ability to look after your longevity of your health and fitness of your body. Of course, that will naturally please your mother, son, brother. Everybody will be happy to have a healthy person in their life. And of course, their happiness will hinge on having someone else leading more healthier. If you have a few others in your family who are all wrecking their body by their bad eating and drinking habits, of course it depresses everyone. No wonder why there's so much depression, because very few have the discipline to discard the real cause of suffering, the greed, the craving, the desire. It may not seem completely extraordinary because everybody's doing it, so to speak. So, are we looking at ourselves very well physically? If not, we need to do it differently. We need to adopt some principles. What goes out, what stays in. We have a thing called in Buddhism 4 Noble Truths. You need to adhere to the 4 truths. The first 2 we don't have to adhere. We just are. We are subjected to them. Suffering and its origin. We are suffering because of not looking after our physical well-being. Because of that, we're indulging in many things that are harmful to the very longevity and health of the body. So that is the suffering. The origin of that is greed. True origin of that is greed and craving and attachment to taste and whatever thing that one is attached to. So those 2 has to be identified: truth of suffering, truth of origin. There are people who are more careful with how they look after their physical well-being. They're doing exercises, they're changing their diet, they're doing things. They are keeping themselves busy and meaningfully engaged with oneself and others. If they're doing all of those things, you can see they're much fitter and healthier, and one may they have to adopt those. So, truth of the path is you need to take up the steps to walk like them. And you will see the truth of cessation. You're starting to see the decreasing of your health problems, even though you can't stop aging, but your aging could be slow. I'm not talking about buying creams here. I'm talking about preventing the need to buy creams. Yeah, some people look so old, even though they're not. So, truth of the path is try to change physical behaviors and one take up right action, physical exercises, dieting, and most importantly, doing good things with the body, not harmful things to other living beings or nature or planet Earth or whatever it is, because everything we do has consequences. The consequences has the consequences of the consequences. So saying that, if one is more conservative in terms of what energy or material we use or don't use, of course, you can see how much less amount of garbage will produce, even that goes into the bin, for instance. You will definitely have many environmentalists would give you tips of how we as individuals can start doing things that reduces the waste. They think globally, act locally. And of course, if you do that, wherever you live, everybody will appreciate that. When I came to the West first, people are never littering things. In third world countries, they will throw everything anywhere. Whether it's a piece of paper or it's a banana peel or everything, there are no bins. There's no bins anywhere. Everywhere is a bin. So why you have to have a bin when everywhere is a bin? In the mid-80s, I remember going to a Buddhist college. They have some little bit of foreign help. They use these sort of disused tins It's supposed to throw away, but they leave the tins near the pillars in the courtyard. It says, use me. So they talk about how to use it. It's already seems so. It's already used. Most people don't. What the hell are you talking about? Use me. Because they never thought. They never saw beings. But without educating people, you just can't have this being saying, use me. People don't know it's ever been. They should teach Dawn literature everywhere. The beings. See, education is a very important way of looking after us. In the West, most people are pretty organized hygienically. Fairly, that's probably why we have first world. People living in the first world because they knew these hygienic things fairly early on. And that's why the third world, because people are educated to know their sickness comes from dirtiness and unhygienic things. How disease spread because of the unhygienic behavior. So, if we're looking after ourselves very well, we will follow the path. There is good health that can prevent illnesses. And then we have contained many illnesses which kills thousands in third world country, but we don't have them in our country at all. Truth of cessation. We have no malaria or typhoid or chicken pox or any of those diseases killing anybody because we don't even have them in the country. So that's just small examples of truth of cessation. We just stop the problem occurring. Going back to the idea of looking after ourselves physically, that's that. And then I was referring just then about looking after ourselves with education, the knowledge. How well educated are we? Are we always learning something, or we think we learned enough, we read enough? So in Buddhism, they said no matter how many things you know about anything, material, all the studies in matter, all the modern subjects we are taught, or modern or ancient subjects we are taught, are basically all physics. It's a study about matter, whether it's engineering, whether it's medicine, whether it's math. It's all about matter. Hardly anything about mind. So the highest education is about understanding the mind. When we don't understand the mind, we are not looking after ourselves. No matter how highly educated you are, well read you are, you may read books in 2 days, whatever, but still those knowledges are all about things. They're not about the thinking mind. They're about the things that the mind thinks it knows. It's always an object, it's a matter, it's a composite. But the real knowledge, higher knowledge, is knowledge of the knower, the mind itself. Now the mind has no visible data, or any auditory, or any gustatory, olfactory, tactility. It doesn't have any of those 5 sense domains. Everything else we study are about what each of the 5 senses can be operatively engaged in relevant sense fields, be that form, sound, smell, taste, touch. We all draw feelings, pleasant feelings. We try to reject unpleasant feeling. We don't mind the neutral feeling. We rather have pleasant feelings. All to do with contacting eye with form, try to develop a pleasant sight, and try to deny or reject the unpleasant sight. and what we call beautiful or unbeautiful, whatever it is, because we look at something. We think it's the object that makes us happy because it is beautiful. Then our eyes are happy to see an object that is so perfect there. But it's always need the object. Other than therefore, if the object is not there, they miss it. They crave it, and they suffer the lack of its presence. And that's called loneliness. That they miss the thing. The thing is not there, which is everything. So that's the mind thinks. And so goes with many things. So always dependent on external objects' existence. If not, you're not adequate. You're basically inadequate. You're unsatisfactory unless you have the object. But not only that, but I think the object is permanent. It's completely incorrect information. Not only the object is unsatisfactory from its own side, but even it is satisfactory now, it will turn out to be unsatisfactory very soon. As most of the experience would have taught you. How many beautiful objects stay beautiful? You don't even want to look at him. Too many people, they don't want to see him anymore. They thought he was gorgeous. They thought that everything was what they could see. They didn't realize it was a complete projection of craving, over expectation, that doesn't exist in the object at all. It was an exaggeration caused by desire, craving, and unrealistic expectations. So our knowledge of the visual world is very, very deceptive. And the same goes with the rest of the other four sensory perception. The ear is now worried. Now ear is worried. All the information that eyes got is wrong. The two ears go like this. I don't know, I can't make it longer. Just imagine the ear just like, gosh, yes. And later the ear consciousness. All I heard was wrong. Everything I heard was not true. He said he loved me. Look at him, how he kissed me. So many are like this. We are so dependent on what the sense organs read from the sense data as if that's correct information, without realizing how many of the sense perceptions are all deluded perceptions. Desire, unrealistic expectations, craving makes things what is not there. It makes it appear as it's there, but it's not there. It's just a temporary kind of deception that your mind led yourself to believe it is, but that it is only it is now, but it won't be very soon. Things change dramatically so quickly that what you thought doesn't stay the same. So therefore, most of our education is all about thinking what we know, what we see, what we hear. But these five sense organs, any education knowledge we have about the world and the matter has very limited use and benefit thereafter. Because they're all composites. All composites are impermanent, transient. They won't stay the same. They change very quickly. Not because the object wants to change, but they don't know how not to change. They are all conditioned. Everything's conditioned. Whatever is conditioned, it's, you make whatever you make something, and how long does it stay? You can cook a beautiful dinner and then serve the dinner on a table, on a plate that's beautiful, the table is beautiful, everything. But if nobody eats it, how long does it stay beautiful? Not after 1 hour. Most of the food won't be not beautiful, even just to look at it, let alone to taste it. You can see how things looks beautiful for 1 minute, but if you don't eat it, next 10 minutes it won't stay beautiful. Particularly all the modern cookings, where the chef more spend to look at good. They are taught in the training how to present good. It's all about presentation, temporarily how to deceive your eyes. But if you don't eat it within 5 minutes or so, it will quickly go cold and whatnot. How long does anything last? But little did we know, we weren't taught that everything's impermanent. They teach us to go after things that are permanent. They say, I want to have a permanent relationship. But it's all impermanent relationships. How long is permanent? 10 years permanent? That's not permanent. It's got 10 years. They got 10-year lease. They don't got permanent lease. How many of your relationship was permanent and it turned out to be 7 years? Or less. And they never think that it was a cause of heartache. That was like more permanent. The consequences were more permanent than the joy of getting it. Suffering of losing it is really long-lasting. Yes. The joy of getting it, gosh, is an exaggerated lifespan. For better or worse, rich and poor, they said all the things. But neither of them have any tolerance to put up with any of that. They're completely infatuated by this illusory appearance of someone. It's all subject to change. We were never taught that. We should have been taught that all things are impermanent. Because then we are not fooling ourselves. So even though we are taught education, they're just knowledge. They're just basic knowledge, but no wisdom in them. So what I'm talking about is, sure, you need to look after self-education, but is education just knowledge? It should be with wisdom. We have lots of knowledge, but no wisdom. So we need to look after ourselves having wisdom on top of knowledge. Some of the knowledges are useful practically, but they're only practical knowledge. But the wisdom is that all of those things are but only temporary. It's a wisdom. It's really good to know that things are impermanent and temporary. Because they are. It's the truth. But because we don't know the truth, we have adopted false as truth. So we suffer. Our suffering, truth of suffering, comes from lack of correct knowledge, level of wisdom. And until that is rectified, we'll continue to suffer. But to rectify that, we have to follow the truth of the path of developing wisdom, right view, that everything is impermanent. Which is really no curse, it's the truth. The truth hurts. Truth is bitter. It's not sweet. But when you accept it, it helps you to prepare for the least expected. When it happens, You don't deny, you don't reject, you're not angry. Even death comes, even illness comes, aging, separation, loss, all will come, but you will accept them with grace. So if you don't have wisdom, no matter how many degrees you hang on the wall, you have to register every year. Make sure your license is updated. It's not enough just because of the degree. You still have to be registered, the license, you have to update it, all of that, you know that. You know, your registration only for 2 years. It's impermanent to you. It might be revoked within 6 months. Everything is impermanent. Where's the permanent registration? Everything is impermanent. So therefore things doesn't work to be lasting long. You don't get shocked. Why? That's the truth. That's the noble truth of the path. You accept that truth, that everything is impermanent. Not because of someone trying to be hard on you, that's the nature of things. Sometimes they say a warranty, a 2-year warranty, 10-year warranty, but they never say warranty for the rest of life. Whether they sell you a chair or a table or air conditioning, whatever, it's only 2-year warranty, 5-year warranty, that's all. It's a miserable year warranty towards this warranty. That's why we are intelligent, not buying life insurance. We're able to go on holidays because we're not giving to the insurance company. We're already using while we're alive. So holding on to things are permanent when it is not. It's not knowledge, is it? Not accurate knowledge. It's incorrect. It's incorrect knowledge. Incorrect knowledge is not called knowledge. Wisdom. Of course, wisdom is that, yeah, sure, you can buy some things with a certain number of year warranty, but still, you know, when things break, you just accept. And then we don't have this stress because we're losing things, or things are breaking, or whether human relationship, or whether your status or success. Whenever they don't last, you don't suffer, because you are following the truth of the path. All things impermanent. It's said that whoever honors this truth, that all things are impermanent, they are blessed by the Buddha. If you want to believe in the blessing concept. If not, they are empowered by the Buddha. If you believe in the power of knowledge, gives you the power. Because it boosts your confidence to not suffer the loss. You just let go. And the fitness, the emotional fitness to let go, not get attached to things that doesn't exist. Many people are depressed because they're holding on to something that doesn't exist. Either in the status, or in the relationship, or in the value of things. They still wish it was there. I wish it didn't stay, it would stay longer than it lasts. All of that mourning, groaning comes from the resistance to accept the reality of transitoriness of all things. So we're looking after ourselves really well. You need this wisdom that you are empowered by the Buddha, the enlightened one. You are prophesied by the Buddha that you'll be okay. Buddha said, you'll be okay. Why? If you accept all things impermanent. Oh, really? That's a good one. So, how often have you stayed okay when something breaks, something loses? Because you know everything's impermanent. I just knew it. See, it is that. See, it's so true, you know. It's happened to me. You don't react, you don't get angry, you don't deny, you don't reject, and you don't get depressed. See, you're looking after yourself now. Really. You know, this is not some things. This is the thought. Distinguish between things and thought. Buddhism is a thought, not a thing. Sure, you can have some prayer flags and beads around your neck as well, but these are not Buddhism. It's just paraphernalia. The real Buddhism is awakenism. You are growing. You become better father or whatever, you know. Because you accept your children's failures, not as their fault, but nature of reality. All conditioned things are impermanent. If all suffering comes from affliction, not from children or husband or wife, it's through your afflictions. If you have children-related suffering, it's not because of children, it's because you're attached to them, you want to possess them, you want to control them, you want to think as you can almost like stop them turning into this. You are father of it. What can you talk about it? What can you stop them becoming them? Because you fathered it. You are responsible. If you don't want to blame anybody, it's you the one who made them children. So stop barking at them. Just accept them. And have kindness to yourself. That we have many unfinished karma from past incarnations and so on, that we had to go through this together to teach us to grow strong and wise and thoughtful, instead of being judgmental and idealistic and righteous towards each other. So this kind of wisdom is not a thing. It's not your son. It's your thought about the son. That is the problem. See, you're now looking after yourself. See, no wonder why Prince Siddhartha discarded the things and went in search of thoughts. See, enlightenment is only a thought. It's just a thought. So just go for that. When you're meditating, you're hunting for that thought of enlightenment, of that wisdom, of that compassion for those who lack the above. Then you have no one to lay blame to. When you don't, you look after them naturally. Most people can't stand each other because they keep blaming each other. They think they're doing this for each other, but they're blaming each other more than they do for each other. So unhealthy. So Prince Siddhartha taught us, sure, maybe you can abandon someone else. Try that. Try that, really good. Are you really abandoning them? Or are they really there to be abandoned? Or you thought about them, you have abandoned. It takes a while to distinguish whether it's thought you're abandoning or people you're abandoning. First, people always try to abandon people or the other things. It's him, that's the problem. There seems to be even some temporary kind of relief when you can get rid of the thing. But in the long term, there's no sign of problem solving, because the hate and anger and resentment follows you, not him. It's not the thing that's the problem, the thought about the thing is the problem. See, if you're really looking after yourself, you tend to have the literacy to know the difference between thought and think. Then you have truly become Buddhist, when you can recognize metacognitively your thought and its changeability, its flexibility. Because when you have apprehended as your thought, you have stopped wasting time thinking is the thing. But the moment you have discovered it's your thought, you are now having a talk to yourself. I thought it was just the other, but now I realize it's just you. And then you start. Okay, who's you? First meditate. Who are you? Where are you? I know it was all you. All this time I wasted thinking it's up there. The good thing about that is then you realize, where is the thought? That was the problem. Now you're aware of the awareness. That is not a thing at all. This is really good relief. See, you have liberated. You have renounced the cause of suffering that you think is the object. When Buddha got enlightened under Bodhi tree, that's what he realized. There was no self and the things. But the things were just a projection of the self that had apprehended to be me and I and this and that without checking, without aware of that lack of the self. I'm not talking about lack of conventional self. Still be yourself, but don't take it too literally. It's just a game. You're just playing a little role that you are the father in front of your children, but in front of the neighbor, you're not the father, you're the neighbor. In the shop, you might be potential shoplifter. From the eyes of the shopkeeper, at least. They say, what's this guy? He's going to buy it. Oh, he looks very funny. There might be a potential shoplifter there. Even though you have no intention to lift even a small item, let alone the whole shop. You see, we are bombastically using these terms to think that we're a shoplifter. Have you ever lifted a shop at a restaurant? Maybe a piece of lolly or something. So we label things as all sorts of things. So don't mistake things with your thoughts. This is very important wisdom. It will help you to not to lose yourself to your thoughts. You become conscious of your thoughts and their replaceability. You wouldn't take time to replace your thoughts. Don't do the thoughts too permanently. Do those thoughts as if they are totally replaceable. And the object just disappears. It's all your projection. If you have this kind of wisdom, doesn't matter if you didn't go to school or you don't have a degree to hang on the wall. Don't equate yourself, how important you are educationally with pieces of paper to hang on the wall. You just are able to feed yourself with wisdom that enables you to not mistakenly think as real and true from its own side. All objects are merely labeled, attributed by our own thoughts. And if you care to change your thoughts, the object changes as soon as you call them. So here, if you are looking after yourself, you might say, oh, are you educated? Are you really? Sure. Quite a lot of people got degrees in education, high degrees and so forth. They even feel important because of that. That's the exact problem. When your importance is attached to titles and labels and status. And this is exactly what the Prince Siddhartha wanted to renounce. Self-importance, full of self, and me, and I, is not looking after yourself, let alone anybody else. Education, health, yeah. Are you looking after your health? Yes. How can you look after your health? If it's nothing to do with education and looking after your body. If you have knowledge in the head, if you have behavior physically looking after your well-being, you probably will have good health. But some people do all the above, but still they're experiencing lots of illnesses. And they probably are karmic. So you understand the concept of karma. Karma means consequences of actions, words, thoughts, either in this body or maybe past bodies. If one engages in behavior that harms living beings' life, destroys them, hunts them, fish them, kill them, trap them, if one has been engaging in those kind of harmful activities that destroy other living beings, mother and child, not see them as a mother and children of somebody, but just as a pest or something, it has consequences. The consequences are very similar to exactly what we did to others. And they usually manifest as ill health. Ill health has its cause in causing harm, injury, destroying other living beings' life. And they can be consequently ripened within this very life. What one did harm to other living beings, even say when we were young, you will be met with the consequences with lots of illnesses. It's not a matter of how smart you are, whatever one has sown, the result will be similar. So therefore some illnesses, health problems that we have, they are never identical even to your siblings, let alone others, because all our shades of karma is very different. We don't remember them during the causes. We only complain when the results happen. We're good complainers, We're not wise detectors of the future sufferings. We are foolish complainers present-wise. Wise prevent the future results by preventing present causes. Foolish complain results of the past. All sickness are results of the past actions, whether you remember or not. You don't get results for no obvious relevant reasons. They're not random. It's somewhere. If you receive a speeding fine, and you say, no, I didn't speed, and they'll tell you exactly where, when, and how fast you were going above which limit. They call, the meters or the cameras, they record it. So as everything we did was recorded by somebody. They don't have cameras. The law of karma doesn't need cameras, Law of karma doesn't need any cameras or any police out there. There's no police karmas out there. They are self-regulated function of law of cause and effect. So because of that, we experience good health, for instance. Say, quite a lot of you, and I'm included, enjoy many years of good health. You know? Whereas others, maybe in our siblings or someone, they are suffering sickness after sickness after sickness. But why you have enjoyed so many years of good health? You know? Because you didn't create causes of the illnesses, whether food or diet or behavior or harming other living. You may have been tender and loving, caring, giving to others, probably giving a home for a wildlife or injured birds or someone who's helpless or homeless, whatever. Wherever you have shown extended your kindness, this naturally causes oneself to be looked after later. Incredible law of causality. So you don't have to believe in so-called karma as an Eastern thing. This is, I call it law of consequences. Karma, they think it's some kind of fate or Eastern religious beliefs, you know. Before you have heard of Eastern religious things, it's in the Bible, says it. You reap what you sow. Whether that's physical health or emotional well-being, some people have lots of joy and happiness and detachment and letting go ability even in this life. They're just able to move on. You know? Because emotionally they previously practiced. You know. Others are so, even smallest things that really makes them to fall down so low. It takes months and years before they recover from the smallest little incident that happened over. They still are seething with anger towards that or thing or people or sometimes even themselves. When the thing becomes self, it's really dangerous. Then one has self-hatred to the self. The self is the thing now against which you are not happy. A lot of people really don't like themselves. That's the worst example of not looking after ourselves. We have to be really kind and gentle and compassionate and forgiving towards ourselves. If we want anyone to be those, we can only attract those what we are like. If we are forgiving, kind, thoughtful, we'll attract such people. If we are not, we'll attract those who hold a grudge over that miserable issue for years and years, because that's exactly what you're doing. They're not them, they're just your image. So if we are looking after ourselves and those around us, we need to have all the above. We need to look after physically, educationally, with wisdom, and importantly, emotionally. See, most people don't have our eye to sight emotions. See, emotions are not visible, are not, maybe even through body language you can tell other people's emotions. People don't see their own emotions. You need the sixth sense consciousness to become aware of that awareness of that you're hosting and posting these destructive emotions over that issue. You need to sight it fairly quickly and stop it from continuing. You have to know how to delete that from your emotional kind of a bank of your emotions. You know, we have lots of warring emotions, disturbing emotions they call it, emotional instability they call it, afflicted emotions they call it, poisonous thoughts they call it. But you have to know poisonous thoughts as poisonous thoughts from its early stages, before it become too old, before they become biology. You see, if the negative emotions aren't detected early, Soon they become biology. They become gunk feelings in your gut. They invade your cellular level places in your cells and tissue. They sediment. They become almost growing, taking space, clogging to the very well-being, impeding your well-being. You're doing exercise physically, but emotionally you're almost suppressing those passive aggression. So we don't have any understanding of destructiveness of certain emotions. We don't have the knowledge of the sixth sense consciousness. This is why in Buddhism we call higher training of knowledge. Higher training of knowledge is self-discipline, meditation, and wisdom. You don't get the wisdom unless you meditate. You don't meditate unless you're self-disciplined. Discipline is the leg, and meditation is the hand, and the wisdom is the head. So we need to therefore try to bring in some good discipline if we're really looking after ourselves. In terms of time management, how balanced your lifestyle is, work, and your other times in life. What are you doing? Are you doing something to educate yourself, to improve your understanding of life, and so on? And if you're doing those developing of wisdom, and not only knowledge for the sake of knowledge, because people do this course this year, this course that, they're always doing various things again, thing after thing, thing after thing. They're now not coming closer to know the thought. Because very few people will teach you should study your thoughts, because they don't offer courses to see your thoughts. Hardly anyone dare to show those things, because they've never dared to look at them. See, this is why there are so few meditators. They really don't want to look at the mind. They don't want to look at the thoughts. They want to look at things. When you look at your mind, it's very difficult to have a sight to it, to see that mind. You know? It's difficult to sight because it's not your eyes that's going to see. It's the kind of a special, extraordinary seeing is called. We call it special seeing, vipassana. It's the extraordinary seeing that can sight your mind. And what is that? It's luminosity. It's the awareness that your mind is light. And love, of course. But only if you have the light to see. The love is not attraction of other people's love to you, but your love overcoming the hate of the other. That's the real love. Inside of sighting, having that kind of luminosity of your mind, clarity of mind, that you see the overcoming of the hate is love. Not attracting of attention to you by giving your miserable love. That's not love. That's mutual entrapment. Real love is overcoming hate. If your mind can meditate to witness this possibility, this clarity, this insight, now this is not visual. Blind people can experience even more better because they haven't got any distraction visually. Deaf people have no problem seeing that because they don't have any noise to distract them. So less you see, less you hear, less you smell, less you touch, less you taste, more you will have insight. No wonder Buddhists promote retreats. To retreat from such over-dependency to sense objects. You will slowly reduce your dependence on that, but you still have to depend on something to survive this vehicle. It is, hybrid or not. We can go hybrid soon. Little bit of food, mostly discipline. Yeah. You definitely have to reduce the food. Yeah. Who want to use petrol when you can use electricity? I'm sure there are hybrid drivers out here, yeah? I'm sure there are people who are driving hybrid cars. See, we are all becoming conservative. We want to look after our planet. Remember, I started talking. People really love to buy a hybrid car. If possible, Tesla altogether. No petrol use at all, whatever. But one step at a time, you see. We're slowly starting to retreat from desire, craving, indulgence, their laziness, doing nothing, scattered mind. And so retreating from those things, we're entreating to develop the sixth sense mental vipassana, especially inside. Inside that actually see the awareness of the mind at its best. If you flavor that, which is called with it, for the yogis, with meditation, have experiential perception. Now you have experience that is not open to the ordinary people because they are so lost in the mundane, this physical world. You are now able to open a completely sight that wasn't visible to the ordinary. Now you can see the magic and the liberated art of luminosity, the light. This is not a thing. This is what you do. You have to do the lighting. You have to sit in a particular way. You have to be pretty on, switch on to do the lighting. It's difficult to light a fireplace, isn't it? We always want someone else to do the lighting, and we don't want to enjoy the fire afterwards. Buddha lit the fire a long time ago. It's still burning. We just have to touch our tinder. We just have to hear that. We have to just connect with the tinder. And that lamp will light you. That will light you. But you need to connect with the lineage of that light. When you are with so many brothers and sisters, you shall never feel lonely. You are with the brotherhood and sisterhood of amazing fellowship of humanity and all sentient beings. No matter how difficult the sentient beings are, there still are all those potential tinders. The only unfortunate thing is they're so far away from meeting the light because they're so lost in the jungle of distraction, of sense perceptions. They're not free to be yogi. Yogi means who's abundantly conjoined with the good. He's totally available to be connected with the good that lie in him. He's not seeking and looking, searching things externally. He knows it's right there. he needs to be very resolute, disciplined, to adopt the discipline with the leg of the discipline. He needs to have fit legs to walk with the discipline, time management, sit upright, get up early, eat little less, don't talk, just stay present, and you shall see the light. You shall see the bright, luminous, sensible awareness of the awareness of your own mind that seems potentially same as the Buddha mind. Just question is whether you have the steadiness to hold that dry tinder close to the fire. There are lots of look-alike fires. They don't lit you. They try to make you feel good, but they don't show you anything, no light. They make you feel they're good to you, good to them all the time. But this one, you've got to be with you. It is called teacher of self-realization. You realize from within by your own discipline. Sure, you need someone to show you the light and thing, but afterwards it's all left to you to cause the ignition. Wait until that fire licks you. Tongue of the fire need to touch your ego. It will incinerate you from bottom up all the way to the crown. From crown to toe, from this end of the hand to the back of the hand, from the skin to the marrow, there is no self. Just the idea of me and the color, ethnicity, language. And we fight against each other over that. What a pathetic cause of war, cause of conflict. And yet you cry deep in your heart why we have lost our way. To fight over the color, all the different sets of beliefs, or lack thereof. And then cause this bloodshed unashamedly. And this is the peace you've got to make. Why you have to make peace? Why do you look after yourself? So that you don't mistakenly see the other as different. Because they have a different color or different shape or different ethnicity, you think they're your enemy? Is this what we teach to each other? This is what we want to watch people do each other? Young Prince Siddhartha saw this, what his forefathers were doing, waging wars, killing others, thinking you're victorious. What a lot of rubbish it is. He couldn't be bothered. Even if he was seen as one who rejected his father and family, he wouldn't care less. Because his purpose isn't just to look after his color or his lot. He's more concerned about other lot. They are labeled and hunted by his lot. And that's why he thought he could bring end of death. You don't have to see people dead. They're already dead when they hadn't do that sort of thing. And therefore, he couldn't be stopped. He left home of suffering, of misery, of blood, and tears, in order to end all of that in the bush. And he found no one. He wasn't looking for anyone. He didn't need anyone. He had enough things The less he had, the better he is. So that he can really become aware of this naked self if it is there. The more he sat, less he felt. He was in his body. He forgot food. He forgot comfort. Because his craving there's no craving for comfort. It wasn't in his list of wishes. He wasn't seeking anyone. Therefore he was able to be alone. He missed no one. And this retreat was no retreat, but ultimate advance. In advance every single day, every single night. Colder it got, hotter it got daytime, thirstier it is, but he's always getting closer to the light. Yeah. He forgot his body, he forgot his food. He was able to enter deep meditative trance. But none of these elements could hinder him in conquering the maras, or the demons, of aggregates, of I, of afflictions, of fear. All of them fell like cutting down from the root. When he was doing that for the 6 years, everyone at his home thought how selfish he was. He deserved the whole palace, family, everyone, the nation, the kingdom. They thought he didn't look after them, nor did they think he was looking after himself. And he had to be willing to wear all the blames and names, only to be turned back everything, and within 6 years he turned all wrong. His doing that became the cause of incredible upliftment of humanity. His enlightenment completely changed the kingdom that he thought he was abandoning. He never did. He did that for the benefit of all of them in the first place. He wasn't benefiting by being what he was. He realized he being a king and living in such opulent luxury and all of that, when he saw his peasants and subjects, living in small huts and not able to keep them so warm, it just shocked him. The disparity between luxury and the poverty. He didn't feel comfortable in living in his palace. That's why he wanted to run away. It became almost like a deterrence for himself from gaining enlightenment, because his father thought he could just keep him insulated and never let him see all the realities of life. But only when he saw the aging and sickness and death, and finally a mendicant, then he realized he wanted to choose his life to live a mendicant in search of enlightenment. And so he did. So all those people who in the Buddhist world honor the Buddha and his valid contribution, incredible contribution for peace, happiness, wisdom, and education, you name it, it became the cause of real peace and hope of peace. And the moment people know that they are following the way of the Buddha, they almost has a natural sort of hope that they won't do the things that we normally think ordinary deluded people do, like violence and so on. So almost the world has this amazing expectation that if you've become a follower of the way of the Buddha, it'll tame you, it'll change you, it'll transform you, it will lit you from within. So whether it's physically, educationally, health, financially, and how much do you need really to think you're looking after yourself? People work like a donkey so many years as they need this much to be living into the aging. Gosh, what a miserable life. They don't have time to do any quality, decent meditation retreat. Buddha thought 29th was pretty late already. We're still in the 60s, we still want to be another donkey. We don't want to go far away enough or long away enough to do a decent retreat, as if we will miss out some things. Yes, we won't be there for his 60th, for her 20th, or all these. They're so important, aren't we? We're never free to do any retreat. Why? Because we're so attached to things. As if their happiness will be sort of affected by our absence or something. Well, if that young Prince Siddhartha thought that, he would have never made enlightenment. Daring to do those are very few indeed. But looking after others didn't seem what he was doing. He was told, week before he was enlightened, some busybody, transient gods, they went to his mother. His mother she died after a week he was born, so Buddha didn't really have a mother. And she was reborn in some transient realm god, and she had a very long life, but still a lot of problems. I don't know what the other religions are talking about heaven. Buddhist concept of heaven is full of other problems. We just think everything's good up there, but there are really lots of problems. But don't tell that to people, because they'll be disappointed. Tell them there's a heaven and all that is. And then they told her, look, your son has deserted your father, your palace, his wife, your child. He's completely disappointed. He's about to die of starvation now. Look at him. You can have a look, because she had clairvoyance. And they can actually, if they switched their mind on, she too could see what was going on. When she looked, she couldn't believe her eyes. Her son was emaciated. There wasn't any form of life. There was just a skeleton covered in skin. He looked so thin, but he was sitting under a tree, and she couldn't bear her eyes. That's her son. She thought he has let everyone down, including himself. He hasn't looked after himself, and therefore he's suffered. He's become cause of everyone's sadness, depression, and useless. And all the blaming went on to the palace. You wouldn't believe what happened in the palace. The father-in-law blamed the daughter-in-law, daughter-in-law blamed the father. And all the in-laws are outlawing each other. So that was happening. And then the Buddha spoke to her. He said, Mother, I am going to be enlightened in 1 week. Don't you worry. I'll come and visit you. Don't be misinformed, and I'll visit you. And you couldn't believe, isn't it? Couldn't believe. That's the first time he spoke. Since he spoke to nobody. But for his sake of his mother's comfort, he spoke to her a week before he got enlightened. And mother was comforted. So the first person he benefited was his mother, to inform her that he's going to be enlightened 1 week's time. Of course, he himself was very sure that's on the card, you see. So he wasn't wasting his time. Every hour that he sat there, he never forgot bodhicitta. And because of that, the tree under which he sat earned the name Bodhi tree, because he never gave up altruism. And that was his meditation. Wholeheartedly doing this time for the benefit of others, so that everybody come to senses. Not to do ill will, not to do greed, not to do delusion, not to do poor me, and do all of the antithesis. That was his meditation. He was breathing in for that, he was breathing out for that. Not that he was needing to do external respiration that much anyway, because he was totally in trance, not needing to resort to external four elements. He was totally supported within in a subtle body. Of course, when he got enlightenment on the full moon of that Vesak month, then ever since that, his whole existence became cause of benefit to everyone. Everyone who tuned their dry attention towards the light of his, they got leaked. And they got straight away, something has changed and will continue to change. And that will make you to stay present in guarding that vow of selflessness, of commitment to practice loving kindness to anyone, particularly those who don't show that to us. For they are unresolved love of theirs. They are not hating you as it may appear. It's their unrealized love towards you and anyone. He has such fitness to have this perception, which only an enlightened being can be subjected to. So, to the Tathagatas, with their incontrovertible veil of wisdom, they have pure perception. When you have more love, then any kind of hate, others' hate become very cause of your love, not otherwise. If it's due to our lack of love for others, and therefore they are dissatisfied, due to lack of our generosity, due to lack of our patience toward them, encouragement toward them, support over them, tolerance toward them, and therefore they're expressing their hostility. If you ever express unconditional loving kindness, they will never show the hostility. There's no room for that. It's the absence of love that hate manifests. We have total power to cancel someone's hate only through your loving kindness. If you do that, not only you will help you look after yourself, and also you look after them, because their hate is not their hate independently. It's mutual karma that has not been resolved amicably. And when you take on the weight and shoulder the responsibility to give the grace of love and forgiveness, then the hate of others seems to be natural domain to practice the loving kindness too. Then the whole appearance of the object towards which you previously hated manifests as absent. It totally tranquilizes. Shamatha meditation is that tranquilizes the neurosis by your discipline of meditation, and then the insight meditation manifests as the lamp in that protected closure, which is shamatha. Without shamatha, discipline to stay unpointed, you can't experience this insight. So we are all capable of looking after ourselves and others more productively by having the union of learning to practice shamatha and vipassana conjoined. The fitness to have the awareness of the emptiness of self only comes if you are able to tranquilize your 5 root afflictions by the injection of discipline and devotion, good company, and so on. Then you will have the leg to walk the talk of meditation. Even not in sitting meditation, you could be walking, you could be doing your things that you always think you should do. You'll be completely present. You'll be doing them with grace, with total wholeheartedness. There's nothing is arduous. When you have tranquilized the neurosis, when your insight is readily available, there isn't anything that is boring or tiresome to you because it will have some benefit to others. If it's benefit to one person, then it will benefit you, the second person, and it will benefit to the third person, and the ripple effect will have you do the things. The mindfulness of doing everything, not just sitting's meditation. If you're ironing the clothes, you will be ironing on the creases. The more the crease, that much you'll get ironing job. Isn't that good? Yes. All this creased samsara needs your ironing of selflessness, of your service, of helpfulness, tender loving care. Whatever the job is, there's the creases appearing everywhere. There you practice your mindfulness and gentleness and compassion and loving kindness and tolerance. When you have this fitness in emotionally and behaviorally, physically, verbally, mentally, you are always looking after yourself. Don't you ever worry that you'll be forgotten. It's not the other doing things to you that you should be looking for. It's what you are doing that you can cancel out, that you can scramble what other people are doing, even though it's really bad. You can scramble them with your tranquilizing ability. There isn't anything. There's only thoughts. When you can replace the thoughts, the crystals disappears. When it is thought only, you don't have many problems. If any, it's just that thought. Are you aware of that thought? Which one? So you have to be aware of that very thought. And as soon as you become aware of that, it's nowhere there. The crease disappeared. So what is the ironing? It's the awareness. And what is the crease? You don't know what it's talking about. Where is the problem? Yeah. That iron might be loving kindness, speaking kindly, accepting some blames, making things impermanent. It's just impermanent, remember? The crease is impermanent, you know. There's no real problem. If you don't mind wearing creased clothes, that's okay. Some fabrics are deliberately made like creased. Modern ones. On the old days, people used to make sure the cloth didn't have holes. That it kept you warm. The function of clothing has changed these days. People deliberately wear clothes with holes. See? It's only a thought, you know. When you think it's impressive, you wouldn't mind wearing open here, all these things. The function of clothing is no longer to keep you warm. See, that was the thought then. Now the function of clothing is to reveal yourself. Gosh, what a strange idea that it is. As if people don't know, you're just liquid and gas packed in a 7-layer skin. That's all we are. If you really want to know who you are, liquid, gas, solid, in the breathing apparatus, magically. If that wasn't there, we'd be, gosh, this room would be gruesome. Full of all these people. But we have the breathing apparatus intact here. All these people so proper listening to me like this, when you can be a bag of gas and liquid, but your mind is so present in seeing what can we do to look after ourselves and the others in a more careful way, mindful way than we have afforded to do so in the past. It's a noble intention, how we can not waste ourselves to enslave the body for very little purposes, but try to look up the sixth sense manticles. Buddhism is all about how is your mind thinking. We don't say in Buddhism, how are you? We use how are the aggregates? Whether you are aware of so-called aggregates or not. What do you mean by aggregates? Have you ever heard that? Not many people ask this, how are your aggregates? Wait until some of the Buddhists are becoming a little bit so like that. How are your aggregates? We write letters in Tibetan. It's quite common to write it. Hope your aggregates are not breaking into pieces. And then they say, my borrowed aggregates are holding together. So it means you're a little bit conscious, aware of the awareness that you're not self. It's just aggregates. Yeah, aggregates. Aggregates of the body, liquid, gas, and whatever we mentioned, and the afflictions, desire, hatred, anger, jealousy, the afflictions there, aggregate of perception, seeing this, seeing that, thinking that, suspecting that, hoping that, all this, thinking he's good, thinking he's suspicious, thinking he's a shoplifter, all these things. This is called aggregate of recognition. And then aggregates of, thinking that we're doing things mentally, emotionally, verbally, all this. We're aggregate of these things. And then last is aggregate of consciousness, thinking I'm George, I'm Penny, I'm the high school teacher. But nobody knows you are. You have to tell them. As soon as you tell them you are such and such, people say, look, from top to toe. Really? When I say I'm Tibetan, which I really don't do much, people usually don't believe I am. They look at my top, they look at my toes, they can't see any Tibetan. They might say, oh, you look Japanese or Chinese. Okay, I can take that. They don't say you are a human being. They're all looking after superficialities. Because there's really nothing there that is me. It's all imagination of the other. So don't worry about what people think you are. They're allowed to have their body of thoughts. Incredible how obsessed we are. That what am I? And we don't like other people's opinion of ourselves. Wow, that's dangerous. Then you should disappear in the cave. That's the reason. And nobody will pass any judgment to you because they won't see you. Out of sight, out of mind, they call it. And that was the Prince Siddhartha. Prince Siddhartha succeeded doing that. Out of sight, out of mind, and there came an enlightened one. timeless being. It's not someone ages, not someone dies, not someone gets sick. Is enlightened one immortal. Immortal truth. So I'd like to conclude here that the point of tonight's talk is how to physically, spiritually, emotionally, educationally, financially, whatever are the basic necessities that we need to do, most importantly, we need to have wisdom. That wisdom comes from meditation, and meditation comes from discipline. Shila, Samadhi, Prajna. We call it. Shila means self-discipline, meditation and Samadhi, and Prajna means the primordial wisdom. Thank you very much. I don't know whether we have time for question or not. I'm sure we have. Somebody says thoughts. Yeah.
Was Siddhartha conscious when he went that under the bodhi that he would do this for the betterment of mankind?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He was aware.
Yes. When? That's a good question. What's your name?
Rory.
Huh?
Rory.
Rory, yeah. Rory asked a question whether Siddhartha was aware that when he was sitting under the tree, he was doing this for the betterment of humanity. I said yes. Reason for that is he was sitting elsewhere, meditating somewhere. And it is not actually just to say correctly, it's not actually the place he got enlightenment, his exact spot where he was sitting 6 years. He actually finished 6 years sitting only just up the road, on the other side of the bank, River Niranjana. And then after he spoke to his mother, he was feeling so weak. And he thought he has neglected himself so long. And he was feeling, then he came to his normal senses. He was feeling very weak. And then he went out for something to drink or something. And then that led to meet goddess, this Brahmin girl called Sujata. And then she had prepared this. Miraculously, she was told that if she prepared this milk pudding, that she will meet someone who is enlightened. And where she was preparing, and finally, when he was so weak and almost like he slid himself down to the stream, tried to get some water, and then there he met her. And then she offered that rice milk pudding, and then he, just by having that, just that first morsel of food, he completely recovered his body in his majestic, youthful, now, 35 years old, 36, maybe 36. He was so fit. And he almost was there, but he was wondering whether he has overdid it in terms of asceticism. And that's why he started eating. So he says maybe he was doing too extreme an asceticism, almost on the brink of self-mortification. So he started taking food as to follow the middle way instead of driving into this. And then he knew that he was not far from getting enlightenment. He just where should I go? Should I go to the place where I was sitting or somewhere else? said, no, you should go to where previous Buddhas sat and enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. That is the magic seat of the diamond, Vajrasana. You must go there. And that led him to find the place present space where that Bodhi tree is. And there then he said, he made a vow, now I'll sit here until I reach enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So he cultivated the bodhicitta, the altruistic motivation. And he wasn't going to do anything but sit here, because he just broke his meditation only a while ago. He came out, he thought he was driving too far and not do the meditation, but he realized he can't stop there, he has to do it. And then he revived his motivation, the bodhicitta they call it, and then attain enlightenment. Not only that, that was the last bit before enlightenment. But in his many past lives, he has always been a bodhisattva for many uncountable lives, who has always generated this heart of bodhicitta. So that's why the real tree under which he attained enlightenment earned the name Bodhi tree. Bodhi means enlightenment. What is enlightenment? It's not his levitating 7 times height of the tree, or trampling the world with a lot of comfort and peace and all that. A lot of those things happen, but the very fact that he did so for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yeah, so that's why people go to that magic spot called Bodhigaya. It nearly got forgotten in history because thousands of years, but it never lost its meaning. It was unearthed during British era. They rediscovered that, and they looked after Burmese, and a lot of Southeast Asian Buddhists always made ongoing pilgrimage to there, so they never lost where exactly it is. But it was buried underground, many meters under the soil. Slowly they excavated, and they discovered British were very archaeologically, scientifically interested to ancient spots, historical sites in India. And so there, out of their scientific exploration, enabled them to discover many of those sites, mainly through the records of pilgrims, like the Xuanzang and Faxian and Yiqing, those very prominent Chinese Buddhist monks. There were other Buddhist pilgrims too, like Tibetan, but they're much later. Tibetan pilgrims' travelogue didn't appear in the West, but Chinese monks' pilgrim writing called Journey to the West was translated into English in the 1800s, and that had everything. It described all the sights and sounds, the distance, direction, monuments of what it was like in the 3rd century, the 5th century, and 7th century. And the most accurate was the 7th century travelogue called Journey to the West by Xuanzang. And so then they all discovered. And with this book helped the British archaeologists to go and map out where those ancient sites were. Because India was completely invaded by Muslims, around the 11th century. Until then, Buddhist India, or India as India, with Buddhism and Hinduism and many other religions, all living side by side without much of a conflict. But when the Muslim Turks came and invaded India in 11th century, that decimated many Buddhist sites, thinking Buddhist sites are just as Hindu sites, and Buddhism was getting smaller and smaller and pushed away in the south or to the east. By the time of the 4th century, even though until 11th century relatively strong. But by that time, after the Muslim invasion, that destroyed everything. Hindu sites, Buddhist sites included, without any discrimination. But they discovered where the Buddha sat through the help of those travelers and subsequent scientific exploration. And then nowadays, India being not a religious country that doesn't declare itself Hindu, let alone Buddhist, is a secular country. It's a secular country. So it nationally doesn't look after any religion, because religion is not part of the state. But nevertheless, it has a department, an archaeological department, that looks after all historical monuments, be that Hindus or Buddhists or Jains or whatever. So, and looking at the historical richness of India's background as a Buddhist and other religions, particularly that has spread as an Indian religion that has spread to foreign countries more than any religion is Buddhism. Most of the Indian religion has stayed Indian by staying within Indian subcontinent. Maybe a little bit of Southeast Asia in Hinduism, but not very far like Buddhism has spread. So that's why Indian government in 1956, that's 9 years after it got independence, hosted the 2500th anniversary of Buddha's passing away, enlightenment in Delhi by the secular government, in order to revitalize Indian history. And they built railroads to those Buddhist sites, and then they promoted incredibly well to 1956. That's the year that they invited His Holiness Dalai Lama, when he was a very young man, as well as Panchen Lama, the highest lamas, to be the chief guest of that very special ceremony. And since then, Indian government, as a secular government, still declared that the full moon in May will be the official holiday called Vesak in all those countries who participate in celebration. And there were 11 countries that participate, all Asians. They are not even Buddhist, like Philippines, like Malaysia, like Indonesia. They all put their hands up with Gandhi, and they will say, yes, we totally support you, we'll celebrate Vesak. So Vesak is official holiday even in Indonesia today, in Malaysia, Singapore, and of course all Southeast Asian countries, Sri Lanka, of course, Thailand, of course, maybe Nepal, I don't know, Nepal's government is a bit hard to tell whether their nose is. But India, even India, is a Vesak as holiday. Since then, yeah. So the other Mahayana Buddhist countries have a different kind of Buddhist holidays, but it was able to promote that internationally. And 25 years ago, at the United Nations in 2002, they declared the United Nations will totally support the celebration of Vesak as a full moon in May, and quite a lot of Buddhist organizations around different parts of the world also are celebrating under the auspices of the United Nations. So that is all to do with enlightenment of the Buddha, the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's why the idea of looking after ourselves and others in uncertain times, teachings of Buddha could not be any comparison to anything. I would say that with a lot of bias.
Thank you, Rinpoche. It was an amazing 2 hours that we've spent developing wisdom. Very good. Totally thought-provoking our thoughts. sincere thanks, Rinpoche. I'm sure everybody has gained some additional wisdom as a result of that talk. I didn't mention earlier, Rinpoche's author of many books. Our centre in Herschel Street, Napier, we have copies. Rinpoche, you'll find doing Google search, has amazing YouTube clips, has Facebook sessions where you can listen to more talks by Rinpoche. So there's an endless resource there, and again I thank Rinpoche for the very fortunate opportunity we have to bring him to Napier twice a year, June and then later in August, September. So we look forward to perhaps you coming to the next public talk, and sincere thanks for coming out tonight and showing your appreciation of Rinpoche's time, energy and wisdom. Thank you, Rinpoche, and thank you everybody. Good evening.
Thank you.